Do 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 Hello, everybody, and welcome to this extended video. Whoa! So, basically, this is a cheap ploy to get more long-form content onto my channel in order to hopefully grease the algorithm a little bit. I understand the algorithm likes long videos, you know? It likes things that get you to waste all of your time, which is what this entire video is gonna be about. Time. Yep. Something universal. It's one of the building blocks of your perceived reality, and you're not getting any of it back, folks. So it's important, I think, to take a second, maybe an hour, if you have the time, to talk about time. What do you do with your time? Why do we spend it? Are they making any more? These are all questions that this hour-long video hopes to address in some way or another, but primarily the purpose is to entertain. So kick back, relax, or maybe start cleaning, or, you know, put on a video game, or do whatever you do when you watch videos. Maybe you're cooking, maybe you're washing the dishes. I do all these things while watching YouTube videos because I think I'm addicted to social media, particularly YouTube, but probably all of it. So, I guess let's get on with our discussion about time, which begins here, in the bed. Are you anything like me? Do you spend hours, maybe even days, in your bed? You know, by the time that we're all dead, if you live to 60, did you know you'll spend 20 years in bed? I don't know if that's true or not. I'm making it up. But what you can't argue is that we do spend a lot of time in bed, barely even conscious. What's up with that? You're telling me that I have a life, let's say that it's 80 some odd years, and I'm going to spend about 7 to 8 hours every day in my bed unconscious? That's a lot of time, folks. That's a lot of time, and it's time you're not getting back. So maybe sleep less. Maybe don't sleep at all. Have you ever thought about doing that? You'd get a lot of time back. And really, at the end of the day, isn't that what's important? Is that you get as much time to do the things you want as physically possible? Is it? Is that what's important? Ask yourself that. Because I guarantee you, the way that you live your life, you probably don't actually legitimately value and treasure the things that you want to do. Maybe, possibly, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't know you. I've never met you. We've never met. Okay? You and I. Unless we have. You know, and in that case, hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. But assuming that we haven't met, I don't know what you spend your time doing, okay? I know you spend at least probably a third of your time lying in bed, lazy and unconscious, maybe hallucinating, okay? Because that's really the apex of what you experience in your bed a majority of the time, that you're actually even semi-conscious of what's going on as you're lying in this bed over here. You're hallucinating. What's up with that? And hallucinations that are like incredibly unrealistic and are hard to remember. So you don't even really get that time back. That's not a great time spent. You know, are you going to spend all your time lying in bed having hallucinations no one can experience that you hardly even remember? Weird. That's a weird way to spend time, and yet we all do it. Maybe we're all a bit strange. But anyway, the point of these questions about how much time you spend in your bed and what you spend doing with that time in your bed is really just to raise the question, isn't that a weird way to spend time? And the purpose of this video is really to explore all the weird ways that we choose to spend our time as conscious human beings on this weird, wacky, wild planet. So if you have the time and have the interest, then please continue on this journey with me through our day as we discover all the weird ways that people spend their time and why. Why do they do that? Why do they spend their time that way? We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out in this video. Some of the things we're going to go over are your work-life balance. Yeah, okay. Eating and why it takes so much time. Why do we do it so often? And relaxation. What is relaxation? How do we experience it? And why do we need to? All of these questions will be answered with no scientific research or actual statistics. So if you hear me blurt out any information during the course of this video, please assume that I'm wrong and stupid. With that, I hope you enjoy. Moving on to we're gonna move on to getting ready. So once you get out of your bed, what do you do? What do you do when you get out of bed? You know, do you wake up? Do you spend maybe 30 to 40 minutes just looking at memes on your phone? Okay, or do you get up right away? Maybe you jog, but all I can know for certain is that once you get up, you're not quite ready to start your day, are you? I mean, your day is technically already started, you know, but you still need to zhuzh a little bit, okay? You probably woke up kind of messy. You probably woke up kind of stinky and sweaty. And, well, if you're anything like me anyway. So what happens? What happens after? Now that you're awake, what do you do now? Most of us start with putting on pants. So, let's go over to the closet and, let's talk about part 1 of this video, getting ready. Getting ready! Everyone's favorite part of the day. You know, some people think getting ready is just putting on pants. But those of us who like to appear professional know that it's so much more. Me personally, I lay out 4 different outfits before I go to bed. And they all look exactly the same because I can't be bothered to try to figure out what I want to wear tomorrow. And I'll give you a hint, folks. All 4 outfits are exactly identical to this outfit right now that I'm wearing at the moment. Take it in. Nonetheless, some people like to have a diverse wardrobe. Ooh, which means they have a million choices to make every morning before they go to bed. Now, from the outside, this could look to be a rather basic choice, but, you know, as many of you's lived experience will tell you, there's no such case. There's no such case as an easy getting ready in the morning unless you have a uniform, and you literally can't wear anything other than the one thing that you're supposed to wear. You know, that's almost 0 times. That's putting on a shirt. That's all that it is. But for the rest of us God-fearing adults, you gotta figure out what to put on and with what pants, what shirt with what pants, and what underwear. Will those underwear make me feel good? You know, and I gotta say, even if you have a uniform, the underwear question may still take a couple of minutes to figure out. You know, because some underwear feel better than others, let's be honest. And it's not just underwear and pants and shirts, folks. There's also socks to contend with. What kind of socks do I want to wear today? Ankle socks? Shin socks? Knee-high socks? You know, you really, the sky's the limit with your wardrobe. And that's why it could actually feel like one of the hardest decisions to make in your whole day and take so much time is because, well, who do you want to be today, right? They say the outfit makes the man or woman or non-binary person. They say that. I've heard it a million times before. So, you know, how do you want to present yourself? Me personally, I've decided to go with super professional and a great CEO. Maybe that's not your role though. You know, maybe you're a doctor. Ooh, what do you wear if you're a doctor? Scrubs? You know, maybe you're a lawyer, but maybe you're a badass lawyer. Maybe you want to wear a sweatshirt. You know, tell the court you're too good for it. You know, that's an option. There are 100 million options because in the land of the free, you can dress however you want. So the decisions that you have to make around your wardrobe are incredibly pressing. Some of us have wardrobe standards. Some of us have to wear specific things, but aren't given a uniform, which could, in some cases, make choosing a wardrobe even harder because now you have to conform to a dress code policy while also expressing yourself. Which is going to be a key question with how you spend your time. For a lot of us, I'd say that fashion isn't a particularly big part of our lives, even if we do spend every day getting dressed. You know what I mean? So for some of us, getting ready is going to take, maybe 5 minutes. Maybe not even that. Maybe you can get dressed in 2 minutes. But then for others, might be kind of particular. So no matter how long you spend having to get dressed in the morning, don't forget that it's important to do that, because, and this is why it's crucial. What's the alternative? The alternative is running around naked. And despite the fact that obviously this is eating some up more of your precious time, doesn't matter, because otherwise you'd be walking around naked. And I gotta say, I think that would be a worse society. I think we'd be worse for it. But that's my opinion, personally. I think that clothes are cool, and especially if it's cold outside, right? We can all agree on that, no matter where we're from, no matter where we're coming from. So, yeah. Getting dressed in the morning, wow. What a way to spend our time. Still kind of weird. Another weird thing we do and spend way too much time doing, So, but normally, once I'm ready, I like to go get breakfast. It's breakfast time, everyone. Let's go see what breakfast's all about. Breakfast. The first of 3 meals that any good worker will skip in a day. Breakfast, like every meal, takes time to make, takes time to eat, and then takes time to clean up. Rough. Honestly, throughout all the activities that we'll be going through today, eating is perhaps the one that takes up the most time in your conscious life, other than possibly working and grinding away like every good American should be doing every day of their life. Now, breakfast, traditionally, for a good old American, will probably start with some coffee that you're basically addicted to, right? So let's get a sip of that. Wow! What a drink. That's good stuff right there. It's so bitter, and it's the only thing that can wake me up anymore now that my soul is dead because I'm a worker drone. Yeah, and then I put the work in, and then I get some money back. But breakfast is important, and you got to spend time doing breakfast, I guess, because calories. Your body needs energy to run on, and unfortunately, that means you're going to have to take a little bit of time every day out of your day eating breakfast and lunch and dinner. Like I said, breakfast is only the first in the 3 of these, so there will be 3 more meals, which is going to be extremely detrimental to your time. If you're a real time saver, I recommend eating 2 meals, and if you're a real big time saver, I recommend eating 1 meal. If you're totally crazy and you're a perfect being that expends no energy, try not eating, because that would work. That would work for a perfect being that expends no energy. For breakfast, anyway, you have a couple of options. Eggs are pretty quick. I would say breakfast on a normal day, assuming you're working, is probably the quickest meal you got to throw together all day, right? Because you're waking up, you're all groggy, you just put on some pants, they don't fit well, and now it's time to run around the kitchen and fry up an egg. So I like eggs for a quick cook breakfast. Good egg, crack it over a pan, watch it sizzle. Try to make an omelet, end up making scrambled eggs. You could put anything in your omelet or eggs, and that's why I think eggs are so good. They're so versatile. Is it cholesterol you have to worry with the yolk? I don't know, but something about it's unhealthy. But something about everything's unhealthy, okay? This gives me heartburn, right? It doesn't stop me. The eggs also give me heartburn, but that shouldn't matter. What matters is I got to put energy in my body so I have energy to do things, and I got to do it in the least amount of time possible, so you're probably going to want to cook some quick eggs. There are other options, obviously. Pancakes, but those take a little bit longer. Maybe you want to make yourself a breakfast wrap, but that probably also involves eggs and would take more time. And, a plethora of other things. Sausages. Sausages are a pretty quick cook. You could also, I like potatoes. I like having potatoes for breakfast. Whoa, cool potatoes. Thank you. And, so that's breakfast for you. Once you're done cooking it, you're going to want to scarf it down, okay? Breakfast isn't a meal you have time to sit down and enjoy, all right? You don't do this for the taste, okay? Breakfast is your raw dog food. You're lucky, honestly, you even get to cook the eggs, okay? If the business leaders of this planet had their way, you'd be sucking up a raw egg and getting thrown in your work pod before you, I don't know, like data mined or something like that. So that's breakfast. We get it for now, but that's not a guarantee for later. And so enjoy your coffee. And next step is the commute. Ooh, you're ready to go to work. Bummer. Here we go. Commuting. You're dressed, you're fed, you had your coffee. It's time to go to work. Time to go to work, time to commute. Commuting. Oh my goodness. There's not enough to say. There's too much to say about commuting and not enough time, let's be honest. Commuting is awful. Commuting is maybe the worst part of the day. Commuting is the part of the day where you have to interact with people who you don't live with and you don't work with, which are maybe the most difficult social interactions just because of how mysterious the world around us is and the people are. What are these people doing? Well, likely they're doing the same thing as you're doing, more or less. But that doesn't make them any less suspicious, folks. Doesn't make them any less suspicious, that's for sure. And I'll also say, doesn't make them any better at getting to their destination in a way that's efficient and not totally insane, okay? There are a couple different ways to commute. If you're a billionaire, you'll probably go to work by helicopter, which is dangerous. Flying is scary. It's the quickest form of transportation. Maybe not necessarily for you, maybe not necessarily for me. Personally, the airport takes a long time, but if you have a private jet or a private helicopter, then flying is a serious contender for commuting, and in which case, all the power to you. Personally, I would be pretty scared. I don't like flying all that much, so a flying commute, like oh boy, I'm showing up to work with heart palpitations. All right. So that's the flying commute, and I guess, hey, at least you don't need to talk to that. Well, at least, if you're a regular person who needs to go on, like, a commercial airplane, like, you actually have to deal with a lot of people, including a bunch of security, which is good and healthy, and important, obviously, for reasons that I don't even need to state here. So that's the flying commute. Not much. There's not going to be a lot of people who are watching this who have a flying commute to work, I almost guarantee. Actually, about 13%, only 13% of Americans fly to work every day. That's another made-up statistic. All right, and here, what's our next best way of getting to work? Train. I live in New York, and a commute on the train is pretty easy. You get on the train, you get off the train, and you walk to work. You walk to the train station. Hey, that's not too bad until you realize you have to share the train with a bunch of people. Maybe the guy next to you smells weird. Okay? Maybe you're packed in like sardines on your train. Maybe the train isn't even working, huh? There are some areas in this city, and I live in one of them, where you can't even get to the city. The rest of the city, unless a specific train is working, okay? If one train near my apartment is down, forget about it. It's time to take the bus. And, buses are good. Buses are underrated, heavily underrated, especially for adults. And it's probably because a lot of adults spend so many time on buses as kids. I spent a lot of time on a bus as a kid, and I didn't exactly love it. Now, the one thing that I can say about any of these transportations, trains, buses, and planes, helicopters included, is at least you're not driving, unless, who knows, maybe you're the crazy kind of billionaire who learned how to drive a helicopter. Good for you. Good for you. I guess you can just do anything, huh? The rest of us could probably also learn how to drive a helicopter if we had the time and money. You know that? But not that you care. You're too busy probably, leading one of these corporations that we're about to talk about in the work section. But anyway, the good thing about a plane, a plane, a train, or a boat, not that a lot of people are taking boats into work, folks, is you don't got to drive. You don't got to drive your bus. You don't got to drive a train. You don't got to drive a plane. And for a lot of people, that means that they might have time to read or to listen to music or to chat with a friend. How lovely. For the rest of us, it's car time. For the bulk of America, when we talk about commuting, it's car time. Oh yeah, baby. Cars are pollutants, cars are incredibly dangerous, and cars are ubiquitous across the entirety of American society for one reason or another. If you believe in the conspiracies, it's because the wealthy industrialist Ford basically got everyone to build car-centric infrastructure in order to increase the amount of profit that his product received so that he could get wealthier and everyone could spend more time driving cars and working at his shops, everybody. So that's a neat little thing about why America is so car forward, but it shouldn't be, because everyone's bad at driving. For a country that has so many people and so many cars, you think these people would be any good at driving. They're not. They're awful. They'll cut you off. They'll pass you in the slow lane, and then they'll honk at you. They'll honk at you as they're passing you in the slow lane and cutting you off. What a sick, twisted society we live in, folks. So your commute, who knows? Your commute could take 3 hours. Your commute could take 20 minutes. There's no way to tell. And even if you're commuting to some place that's 20 minutes away, it could take 3 hours some days if you're in a car, What if there's a traffic? Then you're screwed. Your commute's screwed. And that a lot of people spend their time that way. A lot of people spend a lot of time behind the wheel of a car wishing they were anywhere else, and that's why they made the radio. So I guess that's the good takeaway for you car people out there. You lose all your time. You can't read and you can't talk to people, but at least you get to listen to the radio. What's the disc jockey saying? And that's not a dig. Some disc jockeys are very interesting. I remember I was listening to one radio program as I was commuting about a father-in-law who had relations with his daughter-in-law. Ooh, yeah, see? Now that's some pretty spicy radio. So it's not all bad, but it's mostly bad. That's all commuting is, You got to leave your nice warm apartment, go out in the cold, so that you can be somewhere you don't want to be for the rest of the day, which takes us to work. Wow! Hell yeah! We made it, folks. We made it to the one part of the day that means anything, and it's the first half of your work day. Whoa! This shouldn't surprise you, but as a CEO, there's nothing I love more than watching my employees work, okay? And, oh boy, finally something that means something, right? You wake up, stupid. You hallucinated all night, weird. You got dressed, sure, but that was really just for this. You ate food, again, really just for this. You commuted just so you could get here. Whoa, boy, it's time to work, folks. It's time to work. A lot of people will functionally say that work is operatively something you do so that you can have the wealth to leisurely relax later in your day and live your life. And that's not how it is at all, folks, okay? Your leisure time is just merely something that we let you participate in, so it's easier to show up to work every day, okay? And what a wonderful thing work is. The collaborative process of capitalism is just chef's kiss. I love it. And good news for you is that now that you're at work, you don't got to be yourself anymore. You You don't need to worry about your time. This is impersonal time. This is time you spend at someone else's behest. You know, and as we've been discovering with the leak of the Epstein emails, this time is by and large spent creating productive wealth for corporate elite. How exciting! How exciting! And you know, the first half of your workday is the part of the day where you come in and you know, after lunch, I'm gonna say after lunch, kaput. You know, everyone's crapping and napping. But it's really when you get in here on the first part of the day, you know, finally you're awake, you're energized, you had your eggs in you, you're drinking some coffee, and now it's time to work. Now it is time to serve the needs of the corporate billionaires that run this country. God bless. Because who else would you work for? Who else would you want to work for? Nobody. Nobody. Okay, they're the ones who made this all possible. This entire beautiful way that we spend time possible is all thanks to you know, my billionaire CEO friends out there. You guys are my favorite, and I hope I get to be one of you one day. That's why we're doing this. Again, right now, you know, I know company's kind of in the ground. We're a little bit in the red, but we're working on it. Okay, with exciting videos like these, it'll be hard for people to say no. So and here's you know, this is what do I mean? What do I mean by impersonal time? What do I mean by you don't gotta be yourself? You know what I mean? I mean, you know, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are at work. It doesn't matter what you do. You just got to do what the boss says. You got to do what work tells you to do, okay? Here's a great job. Lawyers. You know, if you're a lawyer, you have a great job. You have a great job, and the only thing that's important is that you make what your client wants to be legal. Legal. Yep. So what do I mean? What do I mean? You know, it means that when you're working, even in the best situations, even as a lawyer, even as a very rich, wealthy man, person, woman, lady, you know, anyone can be a lawyer. Non-binary lawyers exist. You essentially, it doesn't matter how you think or feel or, you know, consider the world around you. You know, if you're a lawyer and your, you know, client, for example, wants it to be for some reason legal to dump millions of pounds of toxic pollutants into a local river, for instance, the only important thing is that you figure out how and why what your client did was legal, okay? And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by impersonal time, right? You know, even if you are the head of a practice at a law firm, you don't have control, all right? You don't serve yourself. You serve your client, okay? And that's across the board, all right? So that's a lawyer. That's a great example of how a lawyer works, you know, where let's say some guy is against pollution by and large. If he works for this law firm, you know, too bad guy. Why don't you make polluting things legal? Okay? And, you know, granted, there are a decent amount of people who work places that they can stomach ideologically, all right? You know, there's some guy working environmental law practice who likes protecting the environment. Good for him. By and large, most people do not have this relationship with their work, and you shouldn't expect it. Okay? You, looking at you, person who's watching this video, preparing to be an American and spend your time like one, prepare to not have a lot of personal time, but prepare to have a lot of impersonal time. And most of the times that you're actually experiencing personal time, expect that you'll be hallucinating in some form or another. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to go through another example of how you're not yourself at work. All right, let's say you're a scientist. If you're a scientist and you work for a tobacco company, the only thing that's important is that you make it seem like for real there's no problem with tobacco giving people cancer. If you're a chef, let's say you're a fry cook, you know, it doesn't matter what you want to cook. What does the customer want? You got a client. And you know, let's even go to an actor. An actor is a great example. An actor is probably the most immediately understandable example of someone who does not get to be themselves at work, but also, ironically, probably much more than themselves in the other traditions. You know what I mean? Because at least the actor wanted to pretend to be somebody else. The lawyer, the doctor, the scientist, the fry cook. Oh, we didn't even talk about doctors. Doctors, you know, I walked into my doctor, I was like, give me Adderall. What's he going to say? No. It's like, fine, going to get a new doctor. You know, and that's how I got my Adderall prescription, okay? So, And you think my doctor gave me Adderall because he thought I needed Adderall? No, my doctor gave me Adderall because I asked for Adderall because I'm the client and that's what he wanted. Anybody currently working, anyone who's employed anywhere, and is currently doing that and is watching this as they're doing that, understand that you're not watching this as yourself. You're watching this as your work self. We all remember that show with Adam Scott, directed by Ben Stiller. The one, oh, wow, the innies and the outies. Oof, jeesh. You know, that'd be good for a TV Report Tuesday, but I don't have an Apple Plus. Anyway, so your first day at work, probably one of your most productive parts of your whole day, and you probably don't even connect with it on any kind of legitimate personal, spiritual, divine level because you're too busy just acting at the behest of some other agent that you have absolutely no control over, but who has complete and utter control of you. So, yeesh. Sorry, I hope you didn't expect to spend the bulk of your time pursuing something that you loved and were interested in. Sorry. Sorry. But hey, at least, you know, if you're gonna be put to work doing something that you might hate, at least they give you lunch that you pay for. And let's talk about that. The saddest meal of the day, lunch. Lunchtime! Alright, wow, you made it through the first half of your day, huh? And ostensibly, we're at the midpoint of the video, perhaps. Probably not. Who knows? I didn't really write this, so there's no way to tell. This is the fog of video. Sorry, I gotta think something better for that, but who cares, okay? We're at lunchtime. Lunchtime, so this means that you've ostensibly worked your entire first half of the day, and your employer has decided that you may, in fact, take some time for yourself and eat a lunch. If you're lucky, you even get an hour, okay? When I was working in the film industry, I actually would only get 30 minutes, if that. You know, there are some jobs where if you're in an entry-level position, they don't even let you eat. They're like, keep working. Everyone else is going to have lunch. You're going to work. You're going to work. So, you know, lunch is probably the meal you're most likely to have taken away from you forcibly. So, which honestly isn't really a bad thing because lunch is by far the saddest meal of the day, okay? Like I said, there are three major meals in your day. You're going to spend about probably an hour and a half to 2 hours eating every day, if not preparing food and cleaning up after said food. Lunch is the saddest of all three, let's be real. You know, maybe if you're bringing lunch from home, if you're going to work, it's probably just a little sandwich tucked in a baggie. How sad. Let's say that you didn't pack lunch, which I can tell you, I can guarantee you, and anyone who's gone to school and had to bring their own lunch also knows this. Home-brought lunches in a lunch bag are always the saddest thing of all time. You know, I don't think anyone's ever opened up a lunchbox and thought like, oh boy, you know, maybe for the Funyuns. Maybe for the Funyuns, but certainly not for that sandwich. I think lunch sandwiches are the saddest, and you know, in my distant memory, Subway were the only lunch sandwiches I would ever get excited for, which at this point they just make me sleepy. But that's another conversation for another day. So welcome to lunch. It's the saddest meal of the day. If you're in a good spot, you'll get an hour for it. If you're in a bad spot, you'll get 30 minutes for it. And if your industry is run by creeps, and then you're not going to get any time for it because who are you? What, you want to have a dream? Do you want to be a filmmaker? Do you want to be a director? Yeah, good luck with that. You don't get lunch anymore. No food for you. The director gets food. The director actually can eat all day. He could take 3 lunches. Don't know why you'd want to. It's the saddest meal of the day, folks. So yeah, maybe you showed up to work with a sandwich in a plastic baggie, or maybe you're going down to your cafeteria, the work cafeteria, so that they can give you a different sad sandwich. That's probably a little bit hotter. You know, that's a benefit. That's a positive. But not, you know, I never really worked at a place with a cafeteria. There have been a couple places that I've worked at for a day or two that's had a cafeteria. Cafeterias are, I will say, a big deal when it comes to lunch. Everyone's eating cafeteria in a lunch. I mean, lunch in a cafeteria. No, not everyone's eating cafeteria in a lunch. Okay, that'd be a big lunch, and that'd be a lot of time. No one has that kind of time for lunch. So, like I said, you're probably in a cafeteria if you're even anywhere at all. You know, there is a likelihood that you chose to just eat lunch at your desk because it's less trouble. So you either got the saddest sandwich ever that you brought from home, or you went to the cafeteria and got a slightly less sadder sandwich, or, you know, your work doesn't really provide these kinds of things, which even if you do have a cafeteria, let's be real, you're paying for that lunch. You're paying for that lunch. So either you're paying out the wazoo every day a week for some weird, gross, sad lunch at your workplace, or you're making lunch at home. Either way, you're spending time eating this sad little meal. You're spending time making this sad little meal more often than not. And honestly, even if you do buy lunch, let's not forget that your income and the money that you have is likely partially a result of all that time you spent working. So even if you didn't take time necessarily out of your day to make your sandwich and you bought one, you still spent your time, right, in the form of money to procure a sandwich that is probably still pretty sad. The one good thing about lunch, though, is that's why they made chips. Without lunch, you wouldn't have chips, folks, and this is where lunchtime is actually where 83% of the United States produced chips get eaten in the United States. That's another made-up statistic, and if you fell for it, shame on you. Shame on you. Tisk tisk. But yeah, that's lunch for you. So, you know, once you're done eating your sad sandwich and spending 20 minutes to do that, you know, if you're lucky, you got like 40 more to just kind of wander around aimlessly, right? You're not going to get enough time during lunch to pursue your own individual passions, hobbies, or endeavors, but you might have just enough to kind of, you know, walk around empty, waiting for something to happen, anything, please God, after you're done eating your sad sandwich. I almost feel bad for lunch. But anyway, lunch is over now. Time to go back to work. Ah! Let's talk about the second half of your workday, folks. Do you just spend it on the toilet? You spend it on the toilet. I asked a question, even though I meant to say a statement. Okay, me personally, when I was an employee, I would spend my entire second half of the day just sitting on the toilet. You know, this is a great way to spend some time. And honestly, like, you know, we haven't really brought up the toilet yet this video, but if you want to talk about expenditures of time, let's talk about the toilet, all right? You know, me personally, I hold my bowels in as long as I can, and then I shoot them out as quickly as possible. Okay, that's me. That's me, folks, because you know what? I don't waste company time. I don't waste company time sitting on a toilet. That is not my purpose. That is not my divine situation as an American. No. The more time I spend not holding it, the more time I spend releasing it, you know, that's time wasted, okay? What am I getting paid for? You know, but I'm going to say this, and it's a controversial statistic, and it's because it's not real. 80% of Americans spend 120% of the second half of their day thinking about the bathroom, okay? If they're not in the bathroom, they're thinking, do you think I could get away with going to the bathroom without anyone hating me? Or if they are in the bathroom, they think, how long can I be in here before people start to hate me? And you know what? The answer is you can get away with a lot. You can get away with a lot. You can spend a lot of time in the bathroom if you so choose. If you so choose, okay? If you decide to be unproductive, you're going to go to the bathroom and you're going to take a big old dumper. All right, and the good thing about a big, long bathroom break is no one's going to ask any questions because, like, whoa, oh, you were in the shitter for a long time there, Jenny. What were you doing? No one's doing that. No one's doing it unless, has anyone done that? You know, I'm closing this door. I didn't want it open. But yeah, you know, it's the second half of the day. Let's be honest. If you're not taking a crap, you should be napping. All right, you know, because I'll let you in on a little secret, folks. This whole CEO holding it thing. Wow, how liberating. This is going to be the only time you hear me say it, but it's just a character. It's just a ruse. To be honest, I'm really just like any other, red-blooded American. I just wanna be on the toilet with my Instagram reels, okay? Just like flipping through them, watching all the funny stuff that happens. It's a good way to spend some time, to be honest. And actually, kind of a light spot, kind of a hope, kind of an optimistic period of time for any given particular day is sitting on the toilet and watching your social media feed scroll by. Wow, beautiful. Or who knows? Maybe you don't work, huh? It's possible. You know that 90% of Americans are unemployed right now, currently, actively. So actually, and that's, that statistic's a lie, but going off that statistic, that means the bulk of you probably don't work. That means you probably are unemployed, unlike me, who has several jobs. You probably don't work. And, what happens? What happens when you have a day where all your time isn't dedicated to the needs of the corporate elite? That's a great question. And you have a couple different options. You could hallucinate with buttons by playing video games. Ooh, how exciting. You could hallucinate with words. You could hallucinate with words by reading a book. Or you could hallucinate with images by watching the TV. I bring in the term hallucinate because the time you spend living in alternative realities, and that's what they really are. Do you think about that when you're watching a show or a movie or playing a video game or reading a book? Like, you're not living your life. You're experiencing someone else living theirs. But they're not even real people, really. They're just stories that you're hearing. So let's get this straight. Basically, if you can't spend all day not being yourself so that you can serve the needs, again, of the corporate elite, you will likely spend all the day not being yourself in respect to any of the culture or media things that you have in your periphery, right? TV, movies, video games, books. All of these are basically ways in which we can experience someone else's experience, right? Isn't that interesting how much time you actually devote to seeing the stories of other people unfold? Okay, so for all you corporate heads out there who are so jealous, so upset that you have to go to work, just remember that the other side is not any more personally fulfilling necessarily than your struggle right now, currently, except you get paid a lot less. All right. So, or alternatively, maybe you're unemployed, and the only reason you're unemployed is for this reason or that reason, and you're looking for a new corporate master to serve. In which case, all the power to you. Maybe you don't spend a lot of time playing video games or reading a book or watching some TV, right? But yeah, that's just time you're applying to try to not be yourself somewhere else at the behest of another Wow. So are you telling me, excuse me, Mr. Man making the video, are you telling me that my only options are, working my soul away for some, corporate elite, or, being completely unemployed and doing nothing with my day but hallucinating with a variety of mediums? No. There's a magical third option. Ooh. What if you were an entrepreneur? Whoa! Now this is what I'm talking about. This is the life. This is what I'm invigorated. I'm impassioned. I'm emboldened. I need to tell you about this new way of living, becoming a CEO of your own LLC. What? Before, when I was unemployed, I was convinced, I thought there was only two ways of existing, either being a unit of production for a system of wealth that inherently rewards the most disgusting and vile greedy of those among us, or you could be unemployed and seek and take all your unemployment and run away and get $1 billion house off the backs of all the taxed workers. But no, there's not. There's a third way. There's a magical third way. Also, by the way, ooh, my kitty's playing with a ball. How I just represented someone who's unemployed taking millions of dollars from unemployment is not real. Okay. If anyone is taking an exorbitant amount of money from the United States government in order to ensure that these tax dollars are not actually used correctly, it's probably billionaires. So keep that in mind. I was only exaggerating. I was pretending to be a narrative, but that's not a real thing that happens, okay? A bunch of these unemployed people don't just get millions of dollars. No one's doing that. Who's giving these unemployed people thousands and millions of dollars? Nobody. No one. Literally. Have you met an unemployed person? They're not rich. Well, but there are some rich people who are unemployed, but that's probably because they were rich beforehand. Anyway, getting back to it. Got totally derailed, to tell you about the most exciting proposition that any American has ever had any opportunity to do, and that's becoming an entrepreneur. You probably hallucinated. You've hallucinated with your books. You've hallucinated with your TVs. You've hallucinated with your video games. Imagine hallucinating with your business and convincing yourselves that you could be $1 billion business, and then lying to everyone about it and running around, and the one thing it takes to be a CEO is you have to never stop working, okay? You work forever. That's what I know. That's what I do. I have an endless grind. I wake up every day at 5 o'clock after not sleeping because I worked so hard the night before, and then I clench and I never go to the bathroom, and I'm always working, and that's me, and I'm working so hard, and it's so difficult. You don't go to the bathroom. You don't go to sleep. You don't party. Okay, you don't have fun. You don't have friends. You don't have time. Okay, you know what time is for an entrepreneur, for a CEO like me? Time is everything. Time is nothing. Time is a concept. It's a construct. You create it in your head, and then you have unlimited amounts of it because your mind is limitless. Because you're a CEO. You're the owner class. And you can do whatever you want, okay? You don't need to work for these people. You could become these people. You could be a millionaire. You are a millionaire. You're a millionaire already, and you're not unemployed. You're not some useless guy sitting on your couch watching TV and playing video games. No, sir. You're a genius. You're a billionaire. You just haven't made it yet. You just haven't made it yet, and that's what a CEO is, okay? And that's your third option, all right? So if I were you, and you see yourself, you're watching yourself, you're giving all this time away. You're giving all this time away to your employer. You're giving all this time away so you could get dressed and commute and yard. Stop that. Stop giving your time away and make your own business. Be like me. Make your own business. You'll get rich overnight. And don't go unemployed. Don't go unemployed because then you're just going to sit around hallucinating all day. If you're going to hallucinate, it's time to make some money, baby. Time to make some money. And, oh, God. Wow, this is really taking a lot out of me. Okay, I'm a little bit tired, so I'm gonna go home at the end of a long day of work. How does that sound, babe? All right, here we go. Time for the commute. Time for the commute back home. Now you got to commute back. Now you gotta commute back from the office, okay? As if it weren't enough dang time out of your day, right? You go to work, you work for a bit, you eat some sad lunch, you take a crap, and now it's time to go home. All right, on the same commuter rail, same plane, same train, same car. However the hell you got into work, you're leaving it now. And if you're lucky, you won't fall asleep behind the wheel of your car and crash into a pedestrian and kill them. Oh, because then you'll get sued. If you're lucky, that won't happen. Or you're taking the train and your purse won't get robbed when you fall asleep on it. Okay, or you finally get a good night's sleep on your red eye back home. All right, I gotta tell you, as much as the workday being over is great, it's You got to go back outside. You got to go back outside and get back home. Get back to where it's cozy. You got to it's not so easy. It's not like your work just over and then like boop, you back home. Nope, that's more time. More time, this commute, And what is this commute? This commute is full of people speeding to get back home again. What an issue, what a problem. Now all the highways, there's an accident on the highway, and the Long Island Expressway is on fire. And now you gotta take all the back roads because someone decided to speed on their way home. And that's not even considering all the drunks on the road because everyone went to happy hour, including me. I'm yeah, if you see me on the way back home at the end of a long day of work, like steer clear, buddy. Because I'm not taking any more time than I need to. I'm getting back home as fast as possible. All right, I don't care if I crash my car. I'll take the other guys. I'll take the other guy's car. I'll speed back home. That's me though. And actually that's how 75.3% of all Americans feel is that they would actually kill somebody if it meant they would get home just a little bit faster and they wouldn't have to deal with that annoying commute back home from work. But congrats, your workday's done and now you get to go home and try to figure out how to relax if that's possible. Good God. All right. Well, anyway, you made it back home. Congratulations. That guy who shit his pants next to you on the train. You might not smell the best, but hey, you made it back home. You made it back home after not failing to hold your bowels on the train. Ugh, you're stinky. And what's next? Assuming you shower, you can clean pretty quickly. It's dinner, so I guess let's get into it, huh? Let's get to the best meal of the day. Some cooking for once. Hell yeah. Ooh, and now we're back into the kitchen and ready for our last meal of the day. This isn't necessarily the last thing you'll eat in your day, but it's likely dinner, the last meal of the day. Dinner is by and far the meal that you'll probably take the longest time actively engaging with, in the sense that it's much more easy to make dinner and much more easy to find the time to make dinner. Our first two meals, let's look at breakfast. Very quick, very scattered. Not all that great because you had to make it and eat it and rush out of the house, right? And then lunch is the saddest meal of the day, as stated multiple times before, because, after you're done rushing your way through breakfast, maybe you cobble something together for lunch. Maybe you cobble a sandwich together. And if that doesn't happen, you're disappointed later and have to spend the time, walk outside, go to a slop bowl place, or maybe even get like some sad sandwich from your cafeteria. Dinner is the time where, we can start talking about what do you want to cook? What do you want to cook? You can make anything for dinner. You could have chicken, you could have pork, you could have shrimp, you could have beef. All right, according to the new food pyramid, you want a lot of meat, have nothing but meat. Eat a whole cow. Why not? Just do it. Try it. It could be good. Eat it raw. Eat a whole raw cow. I dare you. And that's not me daring you. That's the United States government in the form of our new health pyramid. Thank you, RFK Jr. Anyway. Sorry. So now we're at dinner time, which again you get the most time with because you're out of work. No one needs you back for another let's say 12 hours. So what are you gonna make? You probably had to de-thaw something. Let's be real, because all the meat you gotta buy in bulk, so you don't gotta spend the time to go out to the grocery store every other day and pick up more meat. So you de-thawed some chicken. Probably gonna put some pasta with that. Ooh, yeah. Let's go with you have a good chicken. Well, I'm blanking on it's not chicken marinara, no, but chicken. It's a chicken dish. What kind of dish is it? See, now you're taking time out of your day to watch me think about what kind of chicken We're talking about chicken parm. You have a good chicken parm. You get home, you want to make yourself a nice chicken parm, but that's when you remember all the dishes that you weren't able to clean up this morning because you had to rush out so quickly after making breakfast, right? So you take like 20. And here's the thing: the one thing about taking a good time to make a decent dinner for yourself is like we've finally moved into the period of the day where you are not beholden to what your employer needs or wants of you. Okay, this is all you time. And what's one of the first things you're gonna do when you get home? Your body needs, again, more energy after spending so much energy to do all the rest of the things that you did today. So you got to spend more energy to get some energy back in the form of making food. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. Dinner could easily steal an hour and a half from you, depending on how you do it. Right? If you need to thaw things out right when you need to get back home, like that's it's gonna take longer if you need to thaw something out. So that's a strategy. That's a strategy to think about at the beginning of the day. Maybe leave stuff out so it can thaw as the day goes on, and then you don't need to take the time to watch it melt before you could cook dinner. So yeah. The one good thing is that dinner may take longer than the rest of the meals, but it will likely be better. Dinner is maybe the least sad meal of the day, but in some respects, existentially especially, it's the most sad meal. It's the last thing you eat. Well, other than possibly a snack, but we're talking meal-wise. We're talking substantial, right? It's the last thing you eat every day. Every day, at the end of the day, you have dinner, and it marks the beginning of the end for that day, really. Because, what do you do after dinner? I guess that's a question for after dinner. So, you get home, you put the chicken on, you put Parmesan on your chicken, you heat up the noodles, and that probably takes you a good 30, 40 minutes if you're doing it right. And so then you put all of it in a plate, in a bowl, whatever, however you want to eat your chicken parm, and you go back to the couch and you eat it all. And maybe you take some time and savor it. Maybe you savor dinner a little bit because you had more time than you did for the first two meals, so you might as well enjoy something today. So now you're looking at probably an hour and a half you spent doing this. There's a whole bunch of dirty dishes. And, eesh. But let's be real, it's not, you can't do those dishes right now. You're exhausted. You spent a whole bunch of, you might have just gotten more energy, but let's be real, you're making up for an energy deficit. You had a deficit of energy before you ate dinner, and making dinner only made that deficit larger, and now you're too tired to wash all your dishes, because that's not the other thing we're playing with throughout a day is not just time, but energy, which, good luck. Good luck with that energy. So now you finished dinner, though. So what do we do? What do we do after dinner? Our day has now moved into a spot where I don't have to eat, I don't have to work, I don't really have to do anything, and I'm not quite tired yet. So let's figure out how to spend the rest of this day on the couch, huh? That's right. Dinner's done. It was delicious. We're not doing the dishes. That takes too much time. And now we're exactly where we left our unemployed friend, on the couch. We're on the couch, and now, this is the time of day where maybe for those of you living your corporate lives or your jobs, maybe you'd like to pursue some kind of individual passion, hobby, or project. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's likely you'll decide over and over again, I'm very tired. And once that's been decided, the question becomes, in what way do I want to hallucinate until I have to go to bed and hallucinate more? TV. TV is often, I think TV or video games is a really, really great solution for how to spend your time here. Let's be honest. Now that your time where you're operating at the behest of corporate necessity, what's the best way? What is the best way to think about your time now that you don't need to orient around work tasks? And the best thing that you can do is just sit down, shut up, and consume media. Hell yeah. So I mean, a lot of at any given time, there's probably some popular show. I would start with that. time spent watching a popular show is a great way to create some good conversation around the water cooler at work. That's my main suggestion. Video games are a lot more fun than TV, as a hallucination, because you get to feel the power and the control. But they're a lot less communal by and large in the sort of like work sense. It's easier to go to work and talk to a coworker mindlessly about Stranger Things, for instance, than it is Black Myth Wukong or God of War, because let's be honest, who knows who's played any of these games, right? Come on. Sports is a good hallucination. A lot of people watch sports. You can even make some money. You could do a little bit of sports gambling on the side. That might not be too bad for your own little personal pocketbook. But yeah, these really are the moments at the end of the day where you should spend some time and think, wow, all my energy has been used, my time is limited, and I can't really fathom doing anything more productive than just sitting my ass on the couch and watching something. What are you gonna watch? Hey, leave a comment. What show should I watch next? I actually have been watching some TV shows, but that's not really what this video is about. This video is about time. And as a temporal space, I must say that the time after dinner, right? Because you need to work, you need to get ready, you need to eat food. This is probably the most representational time of the day that this is recreation, right? This is recreation. And, if I had my way as a CEO, Americans wouldn't even understand the meaning of the word recreation in 10 years. They won't understand recreation because there won't be any recreation, fellas, ladies, non-binaries. I want work. What I don't understand as a CEO is like, why can't the working class fill this period of time with more work? What, you're just gonna sit on the couch and hallucinate? You're gonna sit on the couch and hallucinate? Is that what winners do? Is that a real experience? No! Go. So I would recommend, honestly, this time a lot of people are gonna just use it lazing around. They're gonna turn on the TV and then they're gonna watch the TV. Don't do that, folks. You could work. You could be working. Remember that. For you entrepreneurs out there, this isn't something new. You do this every day. You see free time and you think that's work time. And God bless you. God bless you, you're doing something right. Unlike, I'm going to play a video game. I'm going to watch TV. And I know what you're thinking right now. It's like, one, maybe less of that voice, which I'm sorry, genuinely. And two, aren't you basically largely not doing anything work-wise and also playing video games and watching TV and then actually talking about TV shows on your channel on YouTube? And I'd say yes. When I watch TV, I'm working over here, and maybe even the video games I play, I'm prophetizing every part of my life. Do you understand? The rest of you guys get to this point in your day and you think like, whoa, I get to relax. You know what a guy like me thinks 24/7? I think, I'm working here. I'm working. This is work. If you see me playing a video game, that's me playing a video game at work. If you see me watching TV, that's me watching TV at work. If you see me reading a book, that's work, okay? I don't even take a piss without recording it and making thoughts, okay? That's all work to me. It's all practice, okay? I don't even like going to the bathroom. I hold it as long as I can. I was kidding. I don't record when I pee, and that's why I hate it. I hate going to the bathroom because I work so hard. So that's leisure time, and maybe you spend this time doing something useful or not useful. What's important is that after this, you're going to bed. Wow, what's the deal with that, folks, huh? You telling me that you spend all this time doing all these things? What, you get up, you get ready, you commute, you work, You eat. You're always eating. You go back to work after you're done eating. You take a crap. You commute back home after working a little bit longer, and you cook some food and you watch some TV and go to bed. What's the point? I'm almost upset. I expected fully to do more interesting stuff with my time, with my day. What was wrong with this? What? Nothing happened. Nothing even happened. I just went to work and then mucked about. Huh? What's the point? Now I'm in bed again. Oh well. Frickin' day. Day sucked. Commute was too long. Work was too boring. My poop was too painful. It was tough all around. And maybe, wow. Despite the fact that I have hopes and dreams and aspirations that aren't being fulfilled, maybe it's time to go back to bed, huh? Maybe it's time to stop this whole charade, this entire circus. Maybe I've been awake too long, huh? Yeah, that's it. That's what it feels like. I've been awake too long and I've been working too hard. I'll tell you that much. I'm ready to go back to bed. I'm ready to go back to La La Land and pretend that I dream that I'm Spider-Man and my cat's Captain America and we're fighting a dog named Dr. Dog. Yeah, maybe that's what I prefer. Maybe that's what I want, huh? Oh, gosh, what a day. Dang day. Dang dab day. Not any fun for me, you know. And what's up? So I got no more time left, and all for what? So Jeff Bezos could have a 15th holiday home that's on an estate, on a vineyard, that makes the premier wine that only 3 people get to drink. Yeah, that's what it's for. You know, I sacrifice my whole will and life and time for what? These people, and what do they do with it? The creepy sacrifices, and they eat kids, and they, you know what they do. You know, the people that you work for, they're awful, they're evil, they're terrible, and you spend all your day toiling away so that they could get another penny, so that they could spend that penny on what? The worst thing imaginable, right? So what the hell? You know, I guess that's what it is. I guess that's all there is to do. Better go to bed and recharge so I can do it all again tomorrow, right, folks? That's pretty bleak, but that's life. And you know what? Despite the fact that the majority of the people on this planet, live their lives in endless toil and work and pain and suffering and existential crises that arise every other minute for most people. Somehow, we all figure out how to make the best of it. And I'll tell you what, folks, for what it's worth, this era of toiling and grinding away for evil people to get their will done, at least we're more comfortable than we've ever been before. And that's got to count for something. We got good TV, and we need oh no, oh yeah, I don't even feel comfortable saying how good things are, because they're so evil. So some things are so evil on this world, and we spend all our time making sure that those things happen. How bleak. But you know what's important? I keep going back and forth. I keep struggling to find the hope that's latent within us all. And the one thing I can say is that it's likely you watching this, you got people you care about, and you got people who care about you. And maybe at the end of the day, maybe we don't get to spend as much time with these people as we should, but you got to find the time. Never be afraid to show someone you love them. Never be afraid to spend some time with the people you love. Never be afraid to take some time for yourself if you need it. Okay, folks? I think we've all throughout this video seen we spend more than enough time in our lives trying to help people who don't want to help anybody, who actually want to make things worse for people. And you know what? That's the great thing about friends and family and community, folks, is that that time, well, we didn't really cover too much of it in this video. Maybe that's the time we should all be looking for more. Maybe that's the time that's important in our lives. When you go back through your day, don't go back through all the nonsense and the work and the pooping and the commuting. Don't you like to go back to the moments that you spend with the people that you love? Isn't that what time's really all about? The choice to love and to be loved. Keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind as you keep living your lives. And speaking of time, I understand you've taken a decent, sizable chunk of your time out of your lives to watch this video, and I greatly appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries and everybody on the planet who watched this video. I really do. You've made my day. If you want to make it even more, you could like and subscribe, and maybe even spend more of your time over here, huh? Maybe part of this is we want a community. We want a community over here. Yeah, that's right. I said it. We want you to spend your time over here. We want to spend time with you. We want to spend time making the things you want. You know, we want to give it back to you. Do you got things you want to make? Hopefully one day this platform will be able to highlight people who take their time to give people something to do with their time. It's just a couple little thoughts from me, the CEO of ABN Productions. But seriously, folks, if you made it this far and you're still watching, thank you so much. You know, none of the time I use to make any of these videos means anything without you taking the time to watch them and appreciate them. So give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks, guys and gals and everyone else. Well, I'm going to thank everyone else first, and then the guys and gals. You guys and you gals, you've gotten enough thanks. Let's give some thanks to the non-guys and gals out there. Hell yeah. All right, bye.